Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday, the 10th of January, 2021. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
Sleeping better than Rob.
And not sleeping, Robert Kemp.
Boy!
Got that wrong. Imagine that all night. Just a breathe-in snore followed by boys.
Breathe in, boy out.
yeah.
Yeah, I've got the Major Nelsons in me, that's what it is. Yeah, boy!
Yeah. That would be the weirdest snore.
I suppose you could, yeah, I don't know about the exhale part, I don't know about the boy part, but I suppose it's possible to, like, inhale a little bit, like going, yeah.
Well, people go like, me, 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 me. On the exhale.
Oh, I can't remember who it was, but I was running with someone once, like for a decent length of time, and his running breath sounds like he's going, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Maybe he is.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe it's self-motivation breathing.
I've been watching Agretsuko on Netflix, and there's a bodybuilder character in that who's the only word he can say is protein.
Protein?
Well, because I don't know, Japanese pronunciation of protein, I guess.
Oh, okay.
But he's like protein.
I was listening to an old Adam and Joe where they were talking about, the grunts that are made by the tennis players. Some of them are ridiculous, like when they hit the ball, they make, especially some of the women in Wimbledon go woo or whatever every single time they hit the ball. And he was making some fake ones where it's like hitting the ball. It's like, I'll kill you. I'm gonna kill you.
That is the subtext to those grunts, I guess.
I'm gonna kill you.
I don't know if I could do anything that would make me exert that sort of noise. No. I don't know.
It's clearly designed to put people off, right? And they just claim that it's just a natural exertion. I mean, it helps with their the actual shot, but I doubt it does.
I wonder if it's one of those things where it's like they're in some sort of flow and they're thinking about the grunt, not the shot. And it distracts them in a sort of Tetris-y kind of way. And
yeah, anything you can do to throw people off, right? Doesn't seem to work, though. Like, the top players don't do it, do they?
Oh, no, I'm pretty sure there's some some up there that really go for it. I'm sure, I can't remember who it is. I'm sure there's a dude, it's one of the top end dudes who every shot is like a like it's got a really long tail,
like a
it's
grown
not just
tube.
like yeah, it's not like
those things.
They should put those in the tennis ball.
As it flies past.
Yeah, like those Nerf whistles or whatever. Like that'd be interesting. Wee.
Probably could you make a tennis ball? No, that made a sound.
it would
ruin it, wouldn't it? Yeah,
screw the aerodynamics completely. But
yeah. Oh well.
Wee. Unless you somehow made it so it was exactly the same density and something, but inside the ball there was a speaker of some kind, so it's just making it's digitally making a whistly noise inside the ball. And then when it goes out, like the ball should explode, like Rocket League.
That's like the opposite of Rocket League. You need it to only explode if it goes out, but you also actually win the point. Which I guess you always do, but not like in the same way as like deliberately winning a point.
I want Djokovic to be pulling shards of tennis ball off his forehead. just a little bit of bendy rubber, just go peel. Because for some reason the tennis ball shards would be sticky. I don't know. Yeah.
Maybe they heat it up so much that the rubber is melted. It sticks to things. There must be rubber in there, I'm guessing. I don't know much about tennis balls.
Yeah, I think the main shell is rubber of some kind. Under all that fur.
What even is the fur? Is it? It's not natural, right? Well, it can't be. Can it?
I mean, it probably was at one point.
Right. Yeah. Fluff.
The yellow fluff of tennis balls.
Is it yellow? Is it some form of green? Yellowy green.
It's high vis yellow.
It's high vis. Yeah, it's definitely yellow, isn't it? It's like... Why do I think of it as green? Like a very light green. It's definitely yellow.
Well, yeah, high vis yellow has that kind of green edge to it, though, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Habitability. How is everyone?
So lack of sleep.
I mean, I've got that headache behind my eyes brewing.
Right.
You know that type where you're a little bit overtired.
Yeah, I don't like that one. How's your sleep, Zeg? Western democracy is crumbling.
Great, but like fine.
What affects your sleep?
I don't know. That's the problem. It's just like I just occasionally get a random night where it's just like, oh, I just didn't feel tired and then accidentally stayed up too late. And then sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes it's just like I went to bed and then I just woke up. It's like the opposite.
Mm. Do you get out of bed when you wake up early, or do you just stay in bed?
It depends how early. Because like if it's really the worst case scenario for just waking up is when I just wake up at like 5.
Yeah, that's
it's
bad.
just like what the hell.
Yeah, I get that. That happens to me all the time. Like almost every night, I wake up at like 4 or 5 for a bit, and then have to try and fall back.
I think I realised one of the main things that causes that for me is like if my feet get too cold, which is why I have like an extra blanket on the end of my bed, and then if it gets too cold in the house, it's like, well, I better get the hot water bottle, or otherwise I'm going to wake up.
I hate having a hot water bottle in bed. I really do.
I've got these. I used to have problems with cold feet, and I tried things, but like I've got these slippers which are really, really good. They're like sheepskin on the inside, and they're a full-on boot. Because I know some people like to be able to just slip them on and off, and so they don't have any kind of heel in the back, you know. But I just want like the warmth to enclose my feet.
Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of slippers that I prefer, and I really need a new pair. But...
I would, definitely recommend these with sheepskin on the inside. Very nice. Because my brother gave them to me because they were his, and he just brought them at Christmas last year, and he was like, "Oh, I don't need those. Do you want to keep them?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." That was the best Christmas present. He didn't even intend it. Now I need to find some new ones just in case these get stinky and need replacing. I think that weird. Have you ever come across LL Bean? They're like an American, Northeast American / Canadian maybe company that make outdoor wear.
Are they made by LL Cool J?
LL Bean. Ladies love Bean. That's what it stands for. Because that's what LL Cool J stands for, right? Ladies love Cool James, right? Man, that's a very uncool thing to call yourself. But yeah, LL Bean has like the most extreme reputation for, you know how Marks and Spencer's like was always had a good reputation for you could take anything you want back and they'd give you a refund or exchange, right? Like
I'll take your word for it.
Traditionally, I don't think it's probably not true anymore, but it used to be you could always take things back to M&S if you had a problem, and they were super good about everything. Well, LL Bean is that on super steroids. Like you could take stuff back after like 30 years and say, "Oh, it wore down," and then they would just replace it, which I think people abused ridiculously, but it was part of their brand or whatever. But anyway, they make good slippers, so I'm going to try and get them from them, even though they're American.
And let's not hope you've just incited some kind of policy abuse.
Oh, there's tons. There was a whole This American Life story on the amount of abuse that their policy has got over the past like 30 years. It's hilarious. Because Americans, they'll just they'll chance it.
Yeah,
they're like, "Oh, sod it. Yeah, if that's what you said. I'll take advantage." Whereas we're like, "Oh no, I couldn't possibly."
I kept the fine print, and now you're mine.
Anyway, to warm feet, I recommend that. But yeah, I'm hoping to try the extreme tactic if I manage to buy this flat and I have a separate bedroom and living room like an actual adult. I'm hoping to try the whole no phone in the bedroom ever technique.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. So I should be able to have my Apple Watch in the bedroom on charge, and then if I get some emergency phone call, I will at least get notified.
For me, the phone stays in the bedroom most of the time to kick me out of bed when someone wants to go for a run.
Right.
All right.
Oh, I see. Someone messaging you saying,
well, me being late for Saturday park run or something like that. Well, park run was a thing.
Yeah. So then, of course, because people use their phones as their alarm clock, so you have to have a normal alarm clock if you don't have the phone in the bedroom.
Have an Echo Dot.
Yeah, or some shit. So I will see if that works, because definitely, scrolling through stuff in bed is not good for sleep.
It's never really been a problem for me. I've never really done that. Just sit in bed scrolling. Like, no,
I don't think I would I don't think I'd be comfortable sitting up in bed.
It's not comfortable.
No,
or lying down and looking up at a phone. Either way,
it's not comfortable.
I'm barely comfortable sitting in an actual chair.
Maybe you should reconsider your chair.
Well, I mean, that's the trouble. Is how much are you willing to spend? How much time are you also willing to spend? Because you have to. It's not like when you're in an office or whatever, and maybe you have ergonomics guy come deal with that for you. You have to go out there on your own and be like, what do I know about ergonomics? Not much, really.
Lumbar support?
I'm just going to sit in this chair and see if it maybe supports me in a way that seems like it's probably right.
I mean, it might be worth a 10 minutes of investigation, given you're sitting in the chair 20 hours a day.
I mean, that's what I managed to do with this current chair, and it's definitely better than the last chairs that I had, but it could still be better than that.
Need to do a time lapse of your chair sitting in profile, and then review it to be like,
well, I think maybe the problem is less to do with the chair specifically, and more to do with just I can't maintain posture at all. I sit in all kinds of weird positions, and it just I don't even realize I'm doing it. It just happens naturally.
This chair I got, fancy chair, it has all kinds of, it's got a headrest on the back, and it's got fancy adjustable arms. But really, the thing that's good about it is the shape of the back. You could probably get rid of the arms and the headrest and stuff, and all that really matters is that it's comfortable on the back.
Yeah, I pretty much never use a headrest, and I do kind of use armrests, but I wouldn't miss them if they weren't there.
Yeah. I don't think that if I could remove them, I probably would. Because the other thing that my weird requirement that nobody else would have in an office chair is I want to be able to sit and play my guitar, and the arms get in the way.
Absolutely.
Well, that's why I had to get an office. I had to get a chair which has arms which you can fold up and down. Because sometimes I need the armrest and sometimes I don't. It's basically if I'm using a controller, I want the armrests, but if I'm using the keyboard, I don't want the armrests.
Right. Same for if you get the steering wheel out. It's armrests are bad for your elbows.
Well, yeah. So it was a whole other situation where you have to be even further away from the desk and stuff.
It's I think I've mentioned this before, but I think gaming chairs can be quite comfortable, but why do they have to look like racing seats?
Because that's the market, right? It's for stupid, for people with no taste, right? AKA gamers.
But that's kind of I really wish it wasn't. Can't they just have some the shape is kind of is fine, right? Because that's what makes it comfortable in some respects. It's but it's when they make them absurd colors, and then they always put a logo on the headrest because of streamers.
It's because it's
I don't want that.
No, but that's the market, right? It's RGB everything.
A black one with just some amount of logo on it.
It's getting off.
You can get rid of the color part.
Yeah, but not all off. The problem is, as soon as you start looking for office chairs, you hit the realm where most of them are terrible or ridiculous money.
Yeah,
and it's and weirdly, gaming chairs actually fit the bill quite successfully in that at a reasonable price point to comfort, but just look like trash.
I think the trick that I didn't do, but my friends is get the really good office chairs, on a discount or second hand or something, or from an office that's selling them because of coronavirus, and they can't afford the office space anymore.
Sure,
yeah. You can.
Well, I mean, I've definitely done that with bog standard office chairs because that's where the offices have worked.
People really like those Herman Miller Aeron ones. I'm not such a big fan, but you can get those cheaper if you know where to look, I think, and that's a bit of that's a trick. But I like my one better. My one's like a steel case. I think it's better than the Herman Miller one.
Yes, but yours got custom made in Germany.
Yes, it did. Yeah, that was hilarious.
Germania.
Made in Germany. I keep accidentally order things that are in Europe that get hit by some horrific customs charge.
Yeah, it's a real problem. Well, it potentially is a real problem now.
Yeah. I think I got charged VAT twice on some clothes that I just bought.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Don't know if I could be bothered to sort that out.
I don't know how you even would. I guess you have to talk to customs.
Yeah. Yeah. Can't be bothered.
Boo earns Brexit. Boo earns.
Fuck you, Brexit.
I've noticed, speaking about posture and stuff like that, and I've just noticed it now, that I always sit with my legs crossed in some fashion.
I mostly do. Personally.
But it's like, it got to the point where if I'm sat down for long enough, it's like I notice like maybe the top of my knee or something where of the supporting leg then ends up getting a bit irritated because it's like, I've noticed my leg is there. Or I've been putting my weight on that one leg because I've been leaning around and stuff. So then I try and swap it around, or I try and uncross my legs, and then it feels even weirder, like because I'm forcibly trying not to cross my legs. And it's
the problem that I have is because I only cross my feet essentially, so I always have one foot kind of over on top of the other.
I do that in bed. That's like, yeah, I'm always crossed just in the feet in bed, but when I'm sat down, it's like knee over knee.
Which then, if you don't pay attention to that for too long, you're like squashing the blood out of one of your feet, essentially. That's one of the other problems of getting cold feet, is kind of enhanced by that. But then, like, it's just, that's the natural position. And if I deliberately try and cross them the other way, it's like, this doesn't feel right at all.
Yeah.
You can't swap it.
I kind of wish I hadn't become aware of it.
Well, now you get to sit like this for another 3 hours.
Well, I've already moved twice since we've been talking. Trying to shift, because now I'm aware of it. I'm trying to shift into a very awkward sort of lounge position on this sofa that I probably won't be able to maintain for very long.
I mean,
whilst also looking into a mic
in that manner that's in the, ergonomic leaflets. Because the reality is, Zach, there isn't some ergonomic inspector going around checking if you're sitting up straight. They just give you a stupid leaflet or like a stupid PowerPoint presentation, like, and no one sits like that. I don't know. I never understood keyboard trays. Do you remember that? Where the keyboard is on a little thingy that slides out underneath the desk.
Oh, yeah, no, I kind of do. Depends on if you're. I guess it puts extra distance between you and the screen, which some people, I guess, like. But
I guess it depends if you have anything else that you also want to put on the desk.
Do on the Surface, yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's still a thing for like musician desks.
Yeah.
And something, like they all, but instead of putting the keyboard in there, they'll put the keyboard in there.
Right. Oh, I see. And they slide out the actual keyboard.
The actual keys.
That's quite good.
Yeah. There's a few of those about. Maybe I'll have to actually get serious about that whole desk situation when I move house. I kind of gave up on that, thinking, you know what, the desk I have is pretty practical, but it's like, oh no,
you're thinking
of
replacing. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I've always wanted monitor arms, and
oh yeah,
it would make sense if I'm moving into a sort of studio environment to potentially get like a room I could use as a studio, get microphone arms properly sorted out and things like that.
That's my thing that's stuck in Belgium, is monitor arm. It's supposed to be delivered by Friday, but it's going to be next week sometime. Never mind. Too impatient. I set up the monitor with the built-in stand for the time being.
Yeah. Because I sort of had that in my head when I'm just going to do that immediately when I buy my next monitor, and then I bought the monitor and didn't, and it's like, no, it's fine.
Actually, the stand that came with this monitor, I thought it looked shit in the photos, but it's actually fine. But I think with the arm, I'll be able to put it further back, and it will make more room slightly on the desk.
I might consider investing in still having a little ledge there, so I've got like a 2-layer desk. just so it sort of slightly tidies away the crap you tend to put under your monitors.
Yeah. Well, I've got various boxes under so I've got the audio interface, which I'm talking to you through.
Yeah, things like that. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
And I've got my DAC, which is basically my preamp for the, because I have a little hi-fi attached to my, for sound. And then on top of that, I've got an HDMI switch. No, because actually my new monitor's got 2 HDMI inputs, but it's for switching between the Nintendo Switch and the PlayStation. But the key thing is it extracts the audio into optical, which I can put into the DAC.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. Various boxes.
Well, yeah, it's just that's where all my like storage boxes and gubbins are for various bits of like batteries for controllers and stuff like that, and wires and USB hubs, and actually quite a couple of Xbox controllers and stuff live under my ledge. And actually, there's a load of batteries under there.
Yeah,
just looking over there. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be madness.
Sounds like you might have space for a good long desk.
Yeah, maybe. Well, it's got to have enough room for my actual work and this stuff and my gaming PC, so it's going to have to be fairly sizable for everything you get in there, and still be comfortable, and potentially fit the 3 of us in there when we can do podcasts that way again.
Oh man, it's going to be coronavirus central. Well, we'll all be vaccinated, so it's all good.
Well, I have to get like broadcast hazmats.
Yeah. Erecting like plastic screens between us.
That's the random section.
Yeah. You got any? Because there's so little news. Have you got any film news or film section or something or TV section?
We watched The Gentleman last night.
Oh yeah.
Which was the most recent Guy Ritchie film, I think.
Oh, did I? I don't think I did watch that. I think I planned to watch it and then never did.
It's pretty good.
Oh, cool.
With Matthew McConaughey and Hugh Grant. Yeah, it's decent. A lot of swearing, but in a sort of funny. It pulls off the Guy Ritchie thing well, if you know what I mean. It has violence in it, but it's not violence for violence's sake, if you see what I mean. It's like it's so it doesn't annoy Gnome in the sense like some films like Harry Brown and stuff does.
Oh, that was like ultra violent, though, isn't it?
Yeah, where it's like so bleak, but it's pretty funny in spots as well. So it's enjoyed it.
Cool,
decent.
He's very hit and miss, isn't he, Guy Ritchie?
I don't know. I like most of his stuff, honestly.
Do you like his King Arthur thing?
Oh, I didn't see that.
That's supposed to be terrible.
I didn't see that, but I quite like his take on Sherlock Holmes. You know, the Robert Downey stuff. It's like they're not Sherlock Holmes as you traditionally know them. They're an action film, but they're still pretty good.
Decent film to watch at Christmas.
Yeah.
And
all the original stuff like Lock, Stock, Snatch and Layer Cake. They're all stone cold classics.
Was Layer Cake Guy Ritchie?
I thought so. Maybe it isn't, but I thought it was that. It's incredibly similar if it isn't.
Yeah. But yeah, Lock, Stock. I love Lock, Stock when that first came out. I still think it's good.
That's because it is.
Yeah.
Vinnie Jones.
Sometimes make fun of it because my flatmates live at Budley, and someone's like, "You got to get those guns."
Get those guns.
Got to get those guns.
I've started watching Mando.
You have? Oh, what do you think so far?
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
I'm only like 4 episodes in, I think, but it's pretty good.
Sweet. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Nothing more to say there then.
I mean, it's exactly as you described. It's like there's not much of a plot. It's just sort of things happen.
Yeah. Are you getting the kind of video gameness of?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just meander from thing to thing to do.
And I think it doesn't. The fact that it basically is mostly filmed inside a video game, like it's filmed inside Unreal Engine mostly, doesn't hurt. That sense.
It's done really well because, like, in the sense, I was kind of expecting the areas in which they all moved in like to do those shooting to be kind of constrained, but because of the whole
volume
video wall setup they use to actually film it in. But they do a decent job of making it feel bigger.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
However they've done that.
Yeah, it's clever stuff. And yeah, it's just really fun and just a good thing all around.
I have spoken.
The level of fan service gets a bit ridiculous, but I was talking to John about this, actually, John Barlow, and because he's really enjoyed it. But I didn't realize that he was a Star Wars guy, and he read all the extended universe books like back in the day. I guess, do you remember that? Like, everyone was in the library at Ipswich School trying to get out those extended universe Star Wars novels.
No, I think I was playing Angry Bin.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I reckon that's where he got that, because none of that's canon. But what they're doing is like just ripping off ideas from the old decanonized stuff a lot,
just to get it back in there somehow.
Yeah, well, like they've got Grand Admiral Thrawn has been back in canon from in the kind of animated in Rebels or whatever. So. He actually gets mentioned in Mandalorian eventually, but it's just a mention so far, and stuff like that. But it's quite funny. So he was just saying that Vanessa has been watching it, and of course all that super fan service stuff, she doesn't get those, so it doesn't really matter, you know.
Right? Yeah. Because I'm probably not going to get that stuff either. So
yeah,
honestly.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely enjoy that. Did you watch the that weird Charlie Brooker thing on Netflix?
I did, actually. Yeah, that was all right. It's basically America Wipe.
Yeah, it was America Wipe, which is kind of weird, right? But it had quite a lot of Boris Johnson stuff in it because he can't help. Right?
Yeah, he can't help it being a bit UK. I mean, I think that was when Noam and I were watching Death to 2020. We were sat here going, okay, it's a bit American focused. He's like he's been Netflixed up, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And he was clearly making this, but you know, he clearly couldn't do a 2020 wipe because he was making this.
Yeah. This is the equivalent.
But it was pretty well done. Like,
I thought it was nicely done.
I thought it was weird that they took I forget her name. Is it Diane? Anyway, the ginger lady. It's like they didn't just use Philomena Kunk as the character.
Oh, they gave her a different Diane Morgan. Yeah.
Yeah, Diane Morgan, that's it. Yeah, who I you know, I'm quite a fan of the Kunk character.
Oh yeah,
But so it was a little bit of a shame that they twisted her into something slightly different. Pretty similar, but slightly different.
Yeah.
And apparently the guy that plays Barry Shitpeas was directing some of the scenes or doing the questioner,
director, right? I think
for some of it, yeah.
Yeah. But he was the producer of Screen Wipe, I think, originally.
Oh, was he as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also the best name.
Barry Shippies, yeah. But I don't know. I would have preferred a traditional wipe, I think, but because it was basically like Screen Wipe, but with Samuel L. Jackson. But my favorite was and of course this was before all the riots happened this week. But my favorite was the character of the soccer mum neo-Nazi conspiracy theorist. Yeah.
I mean, the way that twists to get worse and worse as it goes, and you're just
that actress is great as well.
I mean, it was pretty well done, but I didn't like it for the obvious reason. I didn't like it because it's it's so hateable and so real.
It's too real. Yeah. But she's brilliant. I mean, I was like, I recognize her, and she's the first wife in The Wolf of Wall Street, right? Before he meets Margot Robbie or whatever.
I haven't seen Wolf, but yeah.
Oh, it's quite good. I've only seen it once. But yeah, I've seen her in a few things and she's really good. And I'm like, I want that character to come back. She's, it's almost too real, isn't it? Especially now, right? Because that's literally the kind of people, right? That tricked into being literal terrorists. And
also how the kind of the legal system works, and the whole, wasn't there was something on Twitter the other day where there's something where you can, as long as you say you're a bit scared, you've got quite a lot of rights to do bad stuff in racist situations. It's really frightening.
Yeah, like that fucking woman in Central Park, right, who was having a go at that guy what, she was walking a dog or something? Did you see that? That was ages ago.
Oh yeah,
that was insane.
I can't remember the detail of it, but yeah, you just kind of just have to say you're a little bit frightened, or he's like, oh, you put me on edge, and it's like,
yeah,
suddenly all bets are off.
Yeah, but that was cool though.
America.
I kind of want more wipe though, but we did get antiviral wipe, so that was good. So maybe,
yeah.
What was that joke where it's like you've got to wash your hands for as long as it takes to sing happy birthday twice, happy birthday twice.
All right, I'm done. I did quite like the segments they had with the scientist, and they were just putting random B-roll up, and he's like, "You're not taking this seriously."
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, so check that out. It's on Netflix.
Decent, and of course we watched Eurovision again because we couldn't help ourselves.
Because why not?
Volcanic protector man. It's great. Watch Eurovision.
And now for video games.
Maybe we'll get. Do you reckon we'll get a real Eurovision this year? Do you reckon they'll just find a way to do it?
No.
Like be. I mean, they don't need a crowd, right? I mean,
maybe they'll figure out a way. I don't know.
I mean, all it is people performing. They could have done it this year, honestly. Like okay, they cancelled it all pretty last minute, right? But they could have still figured out a way of just like let's just show the videos one after the other, and then have a voting process. It could have been done.
I guess they could. I mean,
it's all
easy.
it is.
It'd be a lot easier than something like Glastonbury, right? Where they can't do it this year. I don't think.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, they did something. I quite enjoyed what they did do, even in 2020.
Well, it was okay, but it kind of sucked because they didn't ever let a song just play.
Yeah.
And it was a sort of a snippet of what they had as well, and it was it's like you want a Eurovision night to be the full uninterrupted performance. And
it's true.
With all its madness and mistakes, and okay, yeah, you're probably not going to get stage invasions during coronavirus, but
I wouldn't put it past some people.
Yeah, you might. I mean, they're saying the Olympics is happening.
They're saying,
yeah.
I don't know.
Are they going to have to do like they're going to make? I guess. That's another one where it's technically plausible, right? In the same way that they did all the big sporting events, like was it Cricket World Cup, where basically the entire athlete village just bubbled,
right?
Or Bake Off, for that matter. It's just like, right, we've made our own little separated village where there's no virus.
Slightly more people for the whole Olympics.
Yeah, I think it's a hell of a lot of people.
It's pretty unrealistic to run the Summer Olympics this year.
I mean, presumably they're betting on some amount of more vaccines happening by that point.
Well, apparently the Japanese are waiting and are not doing the vaccine program yet. They want us to be the guinea pigs, I guess.
I think everyone does.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of also depends on whether they purchase them in advance.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could be spinning it that way. It's like, yeah, we're just waiting and seeing what happens, whether it's going to kill people.
Well, that's what I assume Australia
we actually don't
doing, because they're like, England have clearly been too hasty in avoiding all their like proper checks and balances. It's like, well, I mean, yes, maybe, but that's also could be a convenient excuse for why you didn't.
Yeah,
behind the scenes, they're like, nah, mate, they bought all the stock. We're screwed. We're screwed.
I think maybe the more it's less of, I think it's more likely to be less a situation of like the literal safety. Like there have been some like allergic reactions or whatever, but like I think it's less going to be a matter of safety and more about do they actually work?
How well do they work? Do they work against the strains that are going to come? Yeah. I really want. I just want one of those RNA ones, but I'm sure once we get to it in 6 months, it'll be like, oh, here's the AstraZeneca one, the boring British one. I want the one that works in the cool way, because the Pfizer one and the Moderna one are this cool new RNA technique that's never been used before, right? And they're both awesome.
hipster vaccines.
Yeah, hipster vaccine. Give me the hipster vaccine. Anyway,
I mean, if you could cure hipster with a vaccine,
I heard that if you take if you take both vaccines, then you can transmit 5G on 2.4 and 5 gigahertz bandwidth.
Wow. Through your bubble hat.
Yeah, to your blood.
Oh boy,
can't wait.
I had
anyway,
Corona before it was cool.
Have you either of you had it? I haven't had it. Yeah, because people I know obviously have.
I haven't known anyone. I've not been in contact with anyone who's had it, or even close. I think to anyone that's had it. So I've been quite fortunate in that way. I know people that have been tested, and I know people that work in COVID wards. But they've all been clean, fortunately.
Amazing. Apparently, 1 in 30 people in London has it right now. My boss has got it, and one of my clients, or our product owner, has got it.
Yeah, it's bad times, yo.
Yeah, bad times. Remain indoors.
I mean, it's easy.
Yeah, pretty easy.
Quite used to that.
Yeah. And distract yourself with some video games. Speaking of which, there's no news about video games this week.
Very little. Only big story being that Nintendo have bought Next Level Games, who most recently did the Luigi's Mansion 3 game thing on Switch. That was them. But they've been working with Nintendo for forever.
Right.
Almost exclusively. So it's somewhat surprising that I kind of thought they might have already been under Nintendo's wing, to be honest. But yeah, that's kind of the only real shaky thing happening, I guess.
News.
Yeah.
I heard that Microsoft tried to buy Nintendo back before Xbox, and they just got laughed at. Which is quite funny.
Yeah, but like before Xbox, it's like, what exactly?
Well, apparently
why would Nintendo sell to them? They have no confidence in Microsoft as a.
Well, the pitch was like, Nintendo, like, you're really good at the games, but your hardware is like clearly behind like Sony and stuff. So let us do the hardware, and you do the games, and we'll make a bunch of money. And they just got laughed out of the building.
I mean, it wouldn't have gone too badly, presumably. Like the GameCube was the weakest of the three at the time. So if you imagine if Nintendo just put their games on Xbox instead,
yeah,
that OG Xbox might have been a machine.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, and maybe that was before or during development of GameCube, right? Wouldn't have been.
Yeah, it would have had to have been.
Yeah. So you can kind of see the logic of the Microsoft pitch there, for sure. But anyway,
I mean, but
I'm glad it worked out this way.
But what was before GameCube? I guess Microsoft's only real like exposure to Nintendo would have been the N64, which is kind of
so I guess they were
an
saying,
oddly ropey platform for third parties in many ways.
They must have been thinking, well, the N64 hardware is a dead end. Like, we can help you out. We'll take care of the hardware, and you do the best games.
And then you were like, don't worry, our little purple lunchbox is going to kick your ass.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the real commercial success was the Wii, obviously.
Sure, yeah.
No one saw coming. I don't think anyone saw coming, even the Nintendo fans, because it was totally different to what I really like about Nintendo, really. Like, I don't really care for the Wii, particularly.
I still don't fully understand exactly, even now, why Wii bowling was the thing.
It was
right.
Massive.
Yeah.
Wii Sports was just ludicrous. Everyone had it. The people who had no idea about video games. Imagine that, the market, non-gamers buying your console.
Buying a home, yeah.
Like a pile of cash. And they can't repeat that, really, because the Switch is a machine for gamers, really. I mean, it's cool. You can take it with you, and you can put it, but that doesn't have that insane appeal.
Some of the Wii Sports stuff is actually on that 51 World Games collection. Like, it's got pretty much the same bowling game in there with the same motion controls using the Joy-Cons.
But it's one of those things where it's like it's a fad, right? Like a bit like Guitar Hero, where like
100%,
no one buys it now. Yeah.
Well, motion controls in general, like who does that now?
Exactly. And it works so well. They sold so many Wiimotes that just sit in drawers now.
There aren't really many Switch games that really use the motion controls.
No, they kind of had to
much anyway.
They kind of had to have it, just to continue that legacy, I guess. But no, I've never used my.
I mean, technically, the Wii U had it as well because you could use your Wiimotes on the Wii U. But the Wii U was a games platform as well, like primarily, if you know what I mean. It was a for the gamer, like take on the Wii.
Yeah, exactly. I think that didn't quite work. It was a bit awkward, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, it's worked. I mean, the Switch is perfect for me, but for all those millions of people that bought the Wii that aren't really gamers, they're not going to do that again.
No. Yeah, there were things that I think could have bridged it, but they perhaps because, like, I don't know, things like Kinect and Xbox Fitness and that kind of stuff, like they could have bridged that gap, but maybe they wouldn't have because, hey, it's on an Xbox.
Well, that was the strategy of the Xbox One. There was to double down on a broad appeal, like non-gamer stuff, like the Kinect and TV, right? Yeah. That was the whole idea, and it was a spectacular failure.
Well, it has the problem that it's still an Xbox.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Maybe if they had positioned Xbox One as, I don't know, like give it some other snappy name, like I don't know what you call it, but
fucking Microsoft Home.
No, you wouldn't call it that. Like, you can't call it that because then it's got Microsoft in the name and it doesn't work.
Zoom TV.
Yeah, that'd be okay. The all box.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of what that launch of Xbox One presentation was all about, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then the fact that they literally have patched out the Kinect completely is,
buy into the future slab.
Yeah, and now what they've got is an awesome games machine with no games.
With no games, yeah. It's gone a bit wrong again.
Oh, but they've got time to fix it. They did, and their strategy
they are righting the ship, but it's a really big ship.
Just throw cash at it. Buy Bethesda for $2 billion. How much it was.
Yeah.
How much was it? No, sorry, that's wrong.
Many billions.
It's more than that.
Many billions.
Many billions. But Bethesda need to actually make some good games.
I mean, they've got a lot on their plate right now, don't they?
Yeah. Well, I guess that Skyrim sequel has to be good, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they can recreate the success of Skyrim.
It's a game that got too big.
We need to look at the Fallout 3 and 4 and then you get worried.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, right. Interesting news, I guess.
That's all there is.
There's the Scott Pilgrim game is definitely getting a re-release with a physical version.
Yeah, was it limited run? I think
so. Yeah, but there's like 3 versions. You can get like a ridiculous collector's edition as well.
I mean, it's good that it's coming out, but hey, they could have just made the first one backwards compatible.
Yeah.
Damn it, on Xbox, and it's like, stop. I don't need to buy it again.
Yeah, I know, but
it's. I mean, maybe there's some. Again, the whole reason it was pulled was because of licensing with Universal.
Right.
Ubisoft and Universal's licensing agreement was weird. So that was, I guess maybe they've had to make another weird agreement to get this one out. Perhaps. And then that agreement doesn't include anything to do with the original version. Also, more money.
Yeah.
They want money.
Always the way.
You can't really remaster that game though. It's like it's like it's pixel beauty. What would you change? Apart from adding more.
More. Okay. Oh, and there was one thing I read. I was just saying to Zach that apparently you remember that Lego Island game. Do you remember the one when we were kids?
Lego Island game.
You know, you could like go around a 3D island, but it was like 2 frames per second.
Is this like the full-on constructor game, or
no, this was super early? It's like a PC CD-ROM multimedia thing, and there was like some plot with some kind of robber, wasn't there?
Well, it's just like you had to go around and do different jobs, essentially.
Yeah.
In a sort of point-and-click adventure kind of way, I guess.
It was really weird. Anyway, everyone remembers it, or like, so it must have sold quite well. And there was a story that apparently the developers like their like compensation was tied to the success of the game, and when it suddenly became a hit, the people that owned the company just shut the company down to avoid paying the developers.
What?
Yeah. So one of those,
no.
yeah. So one that like 20 years later, like one of those super bad stories.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Super shady.
Well, I guess they learned never to write a contract like that.
Yeah, something went wrong in their legals. Anyway. Ugh.
I don't remember that game though. I don't remember it at all. I remember the one.
There's something about delivering
like
a lot of pizza.
Okay.
Because there was.
I remember the one I had where it was basically like the Lego construction kit, and it was trying to model every single brick. Right.
That's a bit more, because this like the actual Lego element of it, like it had minifigs in it, but the things on the island were based on sets from town at the time. I think, like the pizzeria. But I don't think there were really that many bricks involved, weirdly, for a Lego game.
Well, I'm not sure there really are in many of the Lego games, really. They look like Lego, but they're not really modelling bricks, are they?
No, I suppose. But at least you have that kind of weird, like on the Traveller's Tales games, you have that weird animation of bricks going together to build things with the force.
Yeah. The sort of buildable points.
Yeah,
just
kind of better than
something to stand on and hold Y for a bit.
Yeah.
Man, Lego City Undercover on the Wii U.
Yeah,
that's a game.
Yeah,
actually, no, they re-released that, didn't they? So you can play it. You don't have to have a Wii U to play that anymore.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, that's a game. That's actually a decent ass game.
It's like people have fond memories of The Simpsons Hit and Run, because it was like Grand Theft Auto for kids. Yeah,
it was a bit pants though.
Yeah, but if you're not allowed to play Grand Theft Auto,
yeah, I guess. And it was driving focused rather than anything else, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah. Right, I guess that's the news. I mean,
Gonzo.
Yeah, it's time for what you've been playing. Who shall begin? Zach, do you want to go?
Well, I've got tons of shit to talk about from this last whole month that we haven't had a podcast to talk about.
Boom.
Not necessarily all new shit. Well, one new shit anyway. So
one new shit. Great.
So if we go all the way back in time, I finished Breath of the Wild again.
Yeah.
And I actually finished the Master Sword trial and all that stuff.
Oh god, that must take forever.
Well, it turned out not to be nearly as difficult as I thought it was. I mean, obviously I was playing it on normal and not master this time, so it was inherently easier. But like, as I started to get deeper into it than I had in the master version, I was like, this is not actually as difficult as it first appeared. Because it's split into 3 sections, as you may know. Like, so you do actually like come fully back out of the thing into the real world in between these 3 sections.
And like, do you save your progress after a section? Sort of.
Each of those 3 sections you come out and you can just do a proper save. But then inside each of those sections, there's also like rest stops where you do like cooking and get some free items and stuff.
And you have to hope you get the right items, right?
Well, I mean, it's preset, so
you're
always going to get the same items. But then in like the first 2 sections, the last boss is basically a Hinox both times, and Hinox is like it's so easy.
Yeah, they're ridiculous.
Like that's not even a boss.
No.
They're almost easier than most of the regular enemies. So that was quite a lot easier than I was expecting.
But I thought, don't you get like whole rooms full of guardians and shit? And
well, kind of like so. The third section is where it actually kind of gets more difficult. like the start of the third section is the sort of elementals, where you get like several floors of constant lightning storm, several floors of the lava zone, but it gives you one piece of the lava armor, so at least you don't catch on fire all the time.
Right.
And then the third part of that is like a few floors of ice. But when you get to the ice, it doesn't give you the ice armor, so you actually have to use food.
Right. Chilies and stuff.
Or like fire swords or whatever. So like that's kind of a hassle at the start of that. Although it wasn't that, the closest I came to dying was in that start of the third section, but that was because it was like a bunch of bokoblins riding star horses, and I don't know why, but like mounted archer enemies in that game are just incredibly accurate.
Yeah.
Like if they will just nail you no matter what you're doing. So you have to kill them super fast. But yeah, that was kind of awkward. But then like so after you've gone through those three sort of elemental bits, you come to the end of the third section, which is basically just Guardians and Lionels.
Bloody Lionels. I'm so bad at the timing of the dodge or whatever, of the counter. That's my problem, I think.
I mean, some of the Lionel attacks are easier than others. It kind of depends on like what weapon they're using and whether they choose to do like the charge attack or the dash thing.
Yeah.
It can be easier or more difficult. But the thing was, like, I was already dealing with Guardians mostly through reflecting the beams because I'd got the timing down on that.
Yeah.
So like all the stationary Guardian, the decayed Guardians that only take one reflection to kill, those I wasn't bothering fighting with those. It was just like do the reflect and that's it. But then when you get to like actual Guardians, it's like that's manageable, but I think I mentioned before it's much easier to do the reflect if you can be further away.
Yeah.
But like the regular walking Guardians just always come right up to you, so it's much more difficult to pull that off. But the weird thing was, like, in the sort of middle section of the third floor, you start finding ancient arrows. So by the time I was getting towards this end section with the Guardians and Lionels, I had like 7 ancient arrows. So every time it was like you warp into a floor and it spawns you in directly facing a Lionel, and I'm just like, ancient arrow, okay, moving on. Just like you just don't even bother. So I used these 7 ancient arrows, killed both of the Lionels that you come across, and every time there was like a Guardian turret or whatever. Oh no, not the Guardian turrets, they're easy to reflect. The flying Guardians, just ancient arrow those as well. So actually, all this super hard stuff right at the end was actually not that difficult because they just give you ancient arrows.
Yeah, it's the Lionels are surely the hardest, right? I don't know, and you don't get much space, right? Because usually when you fight Lionels,
the floors can be
field.
like quite bigger towards the end. Like particularly the very last floor has a tower off on one side which has a Guardian turret on top, and then like a big open field beside some ruins that has the Lionel and like a bunch of mounted bokoblins as well.
Oh, okay.
So in that case, I was just like, I'm just going to stand way back, far away from everything, because the Lionels can see you from much further away than the bokoblins. So I'll just trigger him. He can run over here, shoot him in the face with an ancient arrow, and that gets rid of him. Right. Then reflect the lasers off the Guardian turret on top of the building, and then I'll deal with the bokoblins.
Yeah.
So like, it wasn't actually as difficult as I thought it was going to be, and I was almost tempted to just immediately load up my master mode save file and have another go at it in that to see if I could get through that. Because I think really I didn't actually on almost all of the floors I ended up totally full of weapons, because that was what I had the problem with in master mode when I tried it. It was like because you don't have many weapons to work with, and they run out of durability if you're fighting in like open combat. I was just like, kept running out of weapons, but every time I was just like, I'm just throwing away weapons in case I need these better weapons.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. I got through it, and then I got the fancy fully powered Master Sword, which actually has like, it's technically a disadvantage because the fully powered up Master Sword, you just get the glowing blade version. So it does the full damage that you normally only get against the corrupted enemies.
Yeah.
But like the advantage of the unpowered Master Sword is the blade glows when you're near something that's corrupted, so you can detect inactive Guardians.
Right, so you can't tell with the fully upgraded one.
Yeah.
Does it still break and then reforge?
Yeah, it does. Oh. I couldn't really tell if it had better durability or not, but
So they were so committed to the durability mechanic that even after you fully beat the game, it still won't give you a weapon that doesn't break.
No, I thought that might have been something that they could have done with the fully powered Master Sword.
I wonder what they'll do with Breath of the Wild 2, whether they'll do something about durability. Because it's go on.
I hope they do something a bit crazy, like maybe durability will probably stay, but I wonder if they change it a little bit, like make it.
I just want them to have the durability, but let you repair.
Yeah,
make it so when a weapon breaks, you don't necessarily, so it doesn't evaporate. It gives you like a broken weapon that you can choose to keep.
Right.
Free up the slot by dropping it.
That'd be good.
Yeah, and then what? How would you repair? Would you have to go to a blacksmith?
Or go to a cooking pot in regular Breath of the Wild. Go to somewhere that there's just like some kind of fire/anvil thing and just mash the materials together.
Yeah, that would be cool because then it'd be like you could keep weapons for the whole game, but you'd still have the mechanic, right?
Oh man, but then you could have you could add like a cooking system to the weapons.
Yeah, you could theoretically have upgrades or something
and power
modifications.
It's basically a crafting system, but yeah, it would be. You could make it madness
because you have like attack up food already, right? So you could stack that with some kind of
and the weapons have modifiers as well.
Yeah,
by default.
Yeah, but then you could do some kind of alchemy on the weapons to change their modifiers.
Yeah, maybe.
And that might be a bit much for Zelda, but they're very good at making complicated things simple. Because imagine doing that in Skyrim and stuff. That would be a pain in loads of numbers everywhere.
I mean, we also have to hopefully they'll make a better version of the cooking system as well. Where you could not just get through the entire game just cooking singular durians that give you full health.
The hearty durians, that's all I ever eat.
Yeah, it's stupid. Yeah. Like you've got this whole fancy advanced system for making all kinds of different... Well, it's mainly the health items, of course, because all the stat bonus ones, you do make them specifically. But anything with health, it's just you don't bother making all these fancy stews and cakes or anything that gives you just pure health points because you only need to cook a hearty durian and that's it.
Did you see the Brian David Gilbert video where he cooked every single meal and ate every single meal in Breath of the Wild in one afternoon? Recommend that one. It's quite funny.
So yeah, I think I'm probably done. I got nearly 600 of the Koroks, so 2/3, I guess.
Decent.
Even though I covered so much of the map, and I had the Korok mask on the entire time.
So you look dumb for the whole game.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there was that.
What was it that? Yeah, that's kind of a tradition, looking dumb for the whole. Because in Majora's Mask, I just constantly had bunny ears.
Yeah, well, it was like the mechanic of the game required you to do that almost. Because you were on a time limit, so you had to be fast.
Yeah, so it's like bunny ears Link is the Majora's Mask Link for me. That game was weird. It was good. I kind of hope
that's sort of what I'm expecting
2,
from this, that they do something nuts,
something
a
little weird one.
Or maybe you'll play as Zelda, and that'll be the difference.
Probably. I mean, it looks likely.
We'll introduce Linkle for real.
No. You don't want to make an excuse to not play as Zelda by just making Link and making a female Link. If you're going to have a female character, just play as fucking Zelda already.
But Linkle uses guns.
Well, Zelda can use guns. In fact, it would probably make more sense for Breath of the Wild Zelda to use guns.
No, but we've seen how Zelda fights.
No, we haven't.
Thanks to Dynasty Warriors or whatever it's called, Hyrule Warriors.
Super non-canon. Alternate timeline. I mean, I guess theoretically that could become true. Depends what happens to the Sheikah Slate at the end of in between these two gates, I guess.
They find a working, fully powered up Sheikah Slate with giant bombs. You just bowl at enemies.
I mean, maybe that's the actual secret of the Sheikah Slate. If it turns out to be any actual canon, where it's because apparently the runes actually change depending on who's using it. Link just gets boring regular bombs.
The bomb tank.
Yeah, Zelda gets ridiculous shit. Maybe because that's their only weapon in that game. That's why they had to do it like that. But canonically, and because Sheik also gets different. Everyone gets different Sheikah powers off the slate.
Yeah.
So maybe that can become canon in the next game.
Is it? worrying that I only just thought of Sheik when we were talking about Sheikah, and that's maybe where they go.
Yeah, but there's no one. There's no.
They turn Zelda into Sheik somehow.
Well, I mean, she kind of could go into that role, I guess, but she's not actually trained in Breath of the Wild.
No. But,
which is why it doesn't make any sense in Calamity, where it's just like suddenly she can totally fight for some reason.
Yeah, she's quite okay at it.
So yeah, that was that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing around Christmas time was I played Ori, the first one, not the sequel.
Nice.
I don't think I like it as much as Rob. That much is clear. And I also can kind of see where like some of the things that supposedly get fixed in the sequel are like, yeah, I can see why.
Yeah, you're talking about the sort of zappy combat-y bit, or like mechanic.
Well,
like
not really. I mean, that's just like fine, I suppose. It's not really relevant. That's maybe the problem with it. It's just like they threw this weird combat system on top of what should have probably just been a platform.
Yeah, maybe. I think, and yeah, it definitely doesn't fit quite so nicely in the first game and then they made a more direct combat system for the second game, and that works a lot better.
The big problem is just like, well, there's a couple, but the first one that started annoying me most was like the quick save, essentially. You'd think that being ancient PC gamers who've played like Half-Life and shit, we'd be used to just quick saving all the time, but when they implement it into this game, it's kind of super annoying. Mainly because it uses resource, and right at the start of the game, obviously you don't have much of that resource to spend. I'd
kind of forgotten about that. Yeah, that's definitely something they did away with in the second game.
Yeah, it's a weird like. By the time you get to the late game and you have like 15 energy and you could just like quick save after every hard jump or whatever, it's fine. But like in the early game where you only have like 3, and you might also want that energy to do other things.
I do remember having moments where I had totally forgotten to quick save for a while.
Yeah, and it sucks.
And then you're like, oh no, it's mainly so far back.
It's mainly when you're like you just need to travel somewhere, and you're like. Because you know the like route to travel down, and it's like it's not a difficult route, so you don't think you're going to die, but then you accidentally screw up, and then you're like, "Oh shit! Now I'm way back across the other side of the map because I didn't save this whole time."
yeah, that happens.
And also that relates to another problem that I had with it, which is just like they should allow you to teleport back to shrines from anywhere. Because it's really annoying to go out into a far corner of the map and then be like, and I have to go all the way back.
I'd kind of forgotten that wasn't in the first game. Yeah, there's a fast travel system in Ori 2.
I mean, you can fast travel between the shrines.
Yeah, you have to get to a shrine and then. I mean, it's still that way in Ori 2, I think. Oh no, or is it? No, they might have changed it. I can't remember.
But it's because there's only one shrine in each of the zones, and the zones can be like quite far out from the shrine. And then if you're going way down into a corner to like collect and pick up or whatever that you didn't get, then it's like you go all the way to the corner, and then you're like, well, in order to go anywhere else, I have to go all the way back to the nearest shrine. It'd be nice if they just let you teleport back to the shrines from anywhere, or make it an energy cost, like make it even more expensive on your energy reserves, but that would be an option. And then the other thing, which I think Rob did mention the first time he talked about it on the podcast, is like the chase sequences are kind of butt.
I mean, they're good, but they're especially in that first game, they're quite long. Some of them.
Yeah, and you can't save or anything. It's just like you have to do the whole sequence in one.
Yeah.
The problem with
I don't think the chase sequences are butt in the first game. I think that actually some of the sequences are better in the first game than most of the ones in the second. But yeah, it's just the length of them is a bit much.
I mean, there's the problems with them apart from like the length is that sometimes it's not very obvious or explicit about like what kills you, like particularly the very last chase sequence where like the bird is diving at you from the background, and it's just like if you don't make it to an invisible checkpoint by a certain period of time, you just die. It's just like that's kind of not a great mechanic. But then the other problem is sort of a more general problem with the feel of that game in general, is that I think they just tried to make everything too precise for how floaty the controls were.
Oh, really? Oh, I wouldn't call Ori floaty.
Well, it's because
it's pretty precise.
It's because it has, like, your jump is short but wide. Like, you can jump horizontally a long distance but not very high.
Yes. So
there's a lot of places where, like, you're jumping over a spike pit that is pretty much the exact width that you can jump.
Yeah.
And so that makes it, you have to be quite precise, and then that factors into, like, when you're trying to do it fast in the escape sequences, then it's like you really do have to hit it. And like, because of the time limit of these escape sequences, the time limit that they give you is so precise as well. It's like you don't have any room for error. Like, you cock up one jump very slightly and it's like, well, it's time. But yeah, apart from that, I mean, it's pretty good.
I mean, yeah, you have picked out the key problems with it, but the rest of the game's pretty darn awesome. I think. Like,
yeah.
I feel like there's even something about how that first game looks, even compared to the second one. Like the two do have a slight difference in their visual style.
Well, I haven't. I did only look at the second one a little bit, but like, it feels. I think maybe like they turned it up too much in the second one.
Yeah,
like they overblown it or whatever.
it's gorgeous, but it looks less artistic. I think the second one, like a little less hand crafted. Because I remember that being. I don't know if it ended up being true or not, but one of the claims they made about the original Ori was that most of the map was unique, as in there were very few repeated assets, or tiles or anything like that. And I'm on the side of believing it more than not believing it, I think, because it does look very good. Whereas that's something I'm not entirely sure was a thing in the second game. Like, it looks great, but I wouldn't be surprised if it would, if they didn't make that claim again. let's put it that way. I think there is that as I say, that's a slight. There's a style change, and I think there's a sense of artistry in the first game that maybe got lost.
Yeah, I did have to turn off the motion blur, that like overall motion blur.
Yeah, it's a little strong, isn't it?
Yeah,
I was like, I definitely did that in the sequel as well. I turned it off there because it's the sort of motion blur where I think it's blurring more than the actual camera would in the real scenario, if you see what I mean. Like, the blur lines are longer than the distance the camera's moving frame by frame, which is wrong.
But I feel like it's maybe, especially in the first game, like turning that off felt like it affected it too, like it was revealing it too much almost. You needed the blur to make that art style a bit like even better than it actually is. I don't know. Oh, and I just remembered the one other thing that was super annoying to me, but like, this is technically not a problem, I guess, but it is. Though I got a bug.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, after playing like an hour and a half or something, I got to a bit where you have to move one of those rocks by pushing it around. And it's in a little passage, so you have to push the rock in to be able to jump over it, and then push the rock back out the other way to put the rock where it needs to actually go. But when I pushed it in, it just like somehow got fused into the floor and didn't move again.
Yeah.
So I had to basically start the save file over.
Damn. Oh, so start the save over. What? So it actually remembered it was wrong.
Yeah, it was just completely stuck.
Oh wow, no, that is bad. No, I never encountered anything like that. That's a nasty one.
Yeah, it was pretty annoying. I suppose because it also has like a save backup system. So like, if I like realized soon enough, I probably might have been able to roll back to a save before that. But like, because I didn't necessarily know that was exactly what I had to do with that rock, and I was oh, maybe this is why maybe it had to go here and it had to stop here. So I pissed around for ages and it overwrote all the saves, and I was like, well, fuck.
Yeah, it's kind of bad.
So that's
unlucky.
Yeah, that was luckily it was only at the start of the game, I guess.
I guess the other thing I don't know is you played the definitive edition, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what differs between the two. Like they definitely added areas and they added stuff to definitive edition that's not in the base game. And I guess you're not going to be able to tell me what those are, but
no, probably not.
I am curious.
And also, I don't know if this was just like, I think it maybe didn't track all the combat achievements for some reason. Like I looked at the achievement list because I'm missing tons, and I looked at, and there's a lot of them for doing like specific combat things, like kill 3 enemies without landing or whatever. But I feel like I did at some point.
Yeah, Ori's not a game I would recommend going achievement hunting in because some of them are insane.
Yes, there's all the different finish without dying and stuff.
Yeah.
Which would be really annoying with all those chase sequences where you just die instantly.
Yeah. It's quite the challenge.
So there was that. That was one of the 2 things that I did from Christmas Steam. The other thing I did was something that I haven't really got into much because it's it weirdly is like waiting on a patch that coincidentally is due in mid-January. So it was the inconvenient timing. But it's a game that someone bought me called Volcanoids, which is like, I don't even know how you describe it exactly. It's like you have this giant drill vessel that tunnels under the ground, and you can build like modules that attach to the side of it, and it has like gun turrets, and so there's a sort of a tower defense element against the enemies. And then you build a little mobile base and try and progress up a tech tree to discover why this volcano keeps erupting and destroying the island that you're on.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm kind of waiting on playing that more because there's a combat update coming, because like the combat that is in it at the moment is like the guns as hit scan, which kind of sucks and is kind of boring. So apparently the combat update is going to have much better bullet physics and proper bullet spread and all that kind of stuff to make it much more enjoyable in the combat aspect.
A more ballistic model.
Yeah. But it's a very strange feeling game in general, because it's just like you're on this island where this volcano keeps erupting and destroying everything every like 20 minutes, except like visually you have the giant eruption and then like the plumes of ash come down and everything, all the trees get blown up and all that stuff, but then like it just fades back into like being green over 20 minutes. It's like it's a super sped up time lapse or something of like
growing, or
everything just comes back. So by the time the eruption happens again, everything's nice and green.
It's meant to be like ultra fertile or something.
So are the trees like growing, or do they get destroyed by the ash, or do they just blacken?
The branches still exist. It's just all the greenery goes away. But and then you're
How
fighting.
Is this presented? Is this because if you're drilling underground, how does that work? Is this like a 2D?
No, it's like first person.
Huh. Okay.
So you go inside this giant drill ship, and then it just like you basically go into map mode when you drill underground. So then you pilot it from like a top-down map view while you're under the ground, and then you can choose where to re-emerge. And then when you come back onto the surface, all your modules on the side of it like open up and unfold, so they can do their processes. Like you can't run any of the factory modules or whatever while you're underground. You have to deploy them on the surface. So it's quite weird, but maybe getting into that when this patch happens, and may also play that in multiplayer at some point.
Yeah. So is this an early access game then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen of it so far, I feel like it might have a sort of typical one of these indie game problems where like the tech tree feels like it's not advanced enough. It feels like, because it seems to be split into like 3 tiers, like all of the different modules have like a 1, 2, and 3 tier version. But from what I can see from the tech tree and the resources, it looks like it's almost just copy paste. Like in tier 1, you get copper and you refine it into copper ingots and you make copper parts and you put those into the tier 1. And then tier 2, it's just all of those same parts, only now they're made of iron.
Right. And a bit
it's just like, that's not exactly a tech tree, really.
No, not in an interesting way.
So
early access could just be placeholder.
Yeah, I mean, it could easily get better over time. And from what I've seen of the previews they've shown of the combat update, it definitely looks like that will help quite a lot on that aspect. So maybe there will be like a tech tree update or something at some point. And then,
what are you fighting, and how does combat work? Is it like does it become like an FPS? Like when you're
it's basically an FPS. You just have guns, and you're fighting these robots that come out of like enemy drill ships. So like everywhere you can surface on the map, there's set positions, and then if you're not there, sometimes there'll be an enemy drill ship there, and then robots will spawn out of that. And if you was
kind of hoping that the combat would be like your oyster and your drill machine, and there'd be some sort of like underground combat through the dirt happening somehow. like that sounds properly weird. I want to know how that works.
Well, there does seem to be on the roadmap some kind of suggestion of there being underground combat, except it's more like you're just defending your ship. Like somehow the robots will come in while you're underground. Rather than like actual drill to drill combat.
Drill on drill.
And then following on from that, I kind of did a sort of round of all of the factory games for some. Well, not necessarily factory games.
Wait. I've got one final drill question.
Yeah.
When you're under the dirt, is the music going?
Unfortunately not.
No Sonic Colors drill action.
I bet you could mod that though, because it sounds like the drill sound effect is just a loop when you're driving the drill around.
That would be sweet.
So I went on to some other factory-ish games. I went back to Factory Town, which I hadn't played for quite a while, so I'd come back in to see how it's updated. What it's mainly updated is that the campaign has been started putting in, so they're introducing each of the campaign levels gradually, which does help that game a lot. Like, because I think when I talked about it before, my main complaint with that game is like the map generation is just kind of naff. It's just like, just sprinkle everything everywhere, and then that kind of negates the whole point of transporting stuff. If everything is within easy reach, there's no reason to build like train tracks and mine carts and all the fancy transport options. But supposedly there's an upcoming patch that is going to change the terrain generation to improve that. But the actual campaign missions, where obviously it's a specially designed scenario, those actually work pretty good. With limitations in what technology you have and the design of the map, making it so you actually have to do things in a specific way.
Right.
But I think there's not much else to say about Factory Town. It hasn't actually changed that much. It's just those campaigns getting made over time. There hasn't been really any mechanical changes. And then I also went back to Rise to Ruins, which isn't exactly a factory game, but kind of, I guess, town building. Went back into that to see, I hadn't seen that for a while as well, but again, hasn't been too much change in that. There's been a kind of a rebalance to the magic system that makes it so that magic is sort of more, you get more out of each magical cast instead of having to spam it all the time. So, because like if you're doing the magic that just generates resources, you used to be able to spam that tons, and like each time you clicked, you'd get one resource. But now it's like it's on a cooldown, so you can only hit it like once every couple of seconds. But it produces like 3 resources, so it's much less click intensive, which is kind of nice. And then some other mechanical changes to magic, like all the things where you summon like defensive golems or defensive turrets or whatever that are made of magic. Now it just like caps your magic bar, so like it's sort of implying that you're using some of your overall magic bar to sustain whatever you've summoned. So it just sort of limits the cap of how much magic you can store, essentially, which is a better system than the way it used to work, where it like drained it, but because of the way the magic system is constantly in flux anyway, you don't even realize how much it's draining. But yeah, apart from that game is mostly still the same as it was. A couple of other balance changes to the actual city building part, but not too much. And then there's been some Rocket League, Factorio, and Animal Crossing, I guess. All those other games continue to play. The Animal Crossing Christmas shit and snow and all that.
Man, I mean, I came up against the whole in Rocket League. I came up against the whole solo thing finally because I actually did want to go in and play some. Well, on one of the days where you just happened to be offline, and it's like, so I ended up braving the hellhole that is casual, and it's just you cannot play that game properly in casual. Like people are quitting out all the time, and it's not a fun experience.
No,
filthy casuals.
It's like it does need some sort of system for like locking people into games, or who cares? Just make the whole game ranked. Honestly, like it's just like, I don't know. The casual system just doesn't. The way it stands, with people able to drop in and out, it just doesn't work. Saying that, ranked drop shot is still a hell of a lot of fun. I enjoy that quite a bit. I can play that happily solo.
Yeah, it's continued to be a situation where it's just like I think I'm still probably seeing more games where everyone is solo, even in ranked, even though solo doesn't exist any longer.
Right.
So maybe that secret like balancing of trying to put people into solo games is working if that does exist. But also, I feel like now that, because after the season 1 where I was up into the champion tier, like clearly now all the new players have either left or got their actual ranks. Like, I've gone way back down into like mid-diamond again. It's like, this is what I was expecting. I've had my 1 season of champion and actually got the champion rewards once. And that's that.
You did it.
Yep. Oh yeah, and I guess I still continue to occasionally look into No Man's Sky. I guess. Because as soon as I went back in there, when me and Rob were trying it out, I was like, oh, I'm constantly tempted by the dailies again.
What do you get in the dailies?
Any of those damn...
What are the dailies?
Well, it's not really like dailies. It's like everything, because there's a lot of stuff in No Man's Sky that basically has 24-hour cooldowns, or like a lot of hour cooldowns. So it's like once you've initiated doing that, it's like, oh, I could just go back into No Man's Sky for like half an hour and do all those things that will have cycled.
What, send off your fleets?
Yeah, send my fleets out, harvest all my plants, make a few more jumps, because like I'm still looking for that S-class freighter, and you can only get that to spawn every like 3 hours or whatever, and you're never going to play for 3 hours probably in one go. So that's basically a daily.
You're never gonna play for more than 3 hours. I'll stop you there. It's like I definitely have.
Well, sure, it depends where you are in that game, though.
Yeah,
like sometimes it can work, sometimes maybe not so much. And yeah,
I feel like I'm about 40 hours into No Man's Sky now, or something like that, and I've got to the point where my story is I can go. It's basically saying go to the center of the galaxy on the main storyline.
Right. Yeah.
Now,
one of them. But are they all done?
Well, no, I haven't done any of the Atlas path. Like
right.
I've only ever visited one interface, I think, other than the ones you get through the portals on the other route.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the Atlas path isn't really. There's not much to it. It is just go to those interfaces.
Yeah, I mean, the next one is quite some way away. But I don't know. I think I'm slow. I'm just faffing basically at the moment. I'm galaxy faff, and so it's I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to make more money out of trades and things like that, just visiting systems, buying everything up, then going to some other system and selling it all. So I'm starting to get a bit more money. I finally bought a second frigate, and then immediately had them all come back damaged again. I hate that system. Oh my god! Like there's not much about No Man's Sky I really dislike. But if your frigates get damaged, and then you have to go land on them and manually go visit these terminals to pay a paltry fee of resource to sort them out, it's so tedious.
Yeah, it's kind of an annoying system. But
it's like, I mean, why can I not just tell them to be like, I'll give you the resources, repair it? Why do I have to do it?
The other problem with that system, well, there's sort of two problems with that system, is like, firstly, it's like, it's becomes so it's already in like this non-existent resource cost, but then like once your frigates actually get to the point where they can handle the missions, they virtually never get damaged ever again. Like I don't think I've seen a frigate get damaged for like the last 7 or 8 times I've sent my whole fleet out. So that then makes it irrelevant. But up to that point, then you have this other like problem of like having to go and land on them and all that stuff is super annoying. But like it's also kind of dangerous. Like why do these ships have gravity that makes you capable of falling off at your death? That's kind of annoying.
Yeah, that's really weird. Yeah, I think I'm at a weird point with the game where I kind of, I don't know. There's clearly I can have more stuff, right? There's things I haven't built yet. I haven't driven most of the exocraft other than the one it makes you drive.
Yeah.
I still haven't got the ability to like just teleport my exocraft wherever the hell I want, and I still haven't got the ability to teleport freight up to my freighter nice and easily. So there's all that kind of stuff I want. That's because I still haven't figured out how you get freighter salvage. I've never seen that. Or that mysterious research point it wants you to have, so I can research the ability to make the freighter teleporter, or whatever that. So I'm kind of at a weird point where I don't understand why I need to upgrade anything. Like I'm flying Jim's rocket now. Like I've repaired that enough so I can fly that around. But it's only really like, other than having more slots for cargo and stuff, it's only marginally better than my A-class fighter. I don't know. Well, no, not A-class. Whatever the bog standard C-class, or whatever, is starting fighter Radiant Pillar. And it's
the one that we found was like it's an S-class shuttle, though, right?
It's an S shuttle, yeah.
So I mean, it's not that surprising. It's not much better than your original.
It's pretty much the same as my fighter. Like it doesn't even have that much more cargo space than my fighter does. It's like,
but that's because like it's only an S-class in stats, and it's like the cargo space is that weird, like kind of upgradey kind of tree. I think that still exists. Maybe it doesn't, but like shuttles are generally not great. But I don't think, because you're getting to the point where like now that you don't necessarily need the storage space, it's just like all you're going to put in there is module upgrades, assuming you have the nanites to buy those.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I've got quite a lot of nanites, but I've never really found module, like I can only buy B class mod upgrades. Like, and it's like, well, I know that A's and S's upgrades exist, so why would I buy those?
Stations always have those.
No, not for me. I only ever see B's.
That's
in my lists.
Because I mean, all of the module sellers on the station for the exosuit and the ship and the exocraft, they just show all of them to me.
Yeah, maybe I have to need to check back, but I can't remember ever seeing anything other than a B wherever I've been. You're talking about in the anomaly, right?
No, on the actual stations.
On the stations, okay. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I'm sort of, but I don't know why I'd need to. Right, is the other problem, because like I'm not having a problem. I've never had a problem in the game. Like combat, like space, taking out pirates. Yeah, I'm fine. I was fine in my starting ship, and I've never been threatened.
Yeah, I feel like the only reason that I have put like the S-class upgrades on my spaceships for combat is just like so that I can do it incredibly quickly. It's not really like it's not really reducing the danger as much as just like reducing the time that I have to do it.
Right, yeah.
Like when you can just one shot every pirate, it's just like, this is much quicker to get through this combat stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an element of that. It'd be nice to be able to like have an upgraded bolt caster or some weapon on my multi-tool for taking down sentinels when I need to. But it's not like it's difficult or takes all that long right now. So I don't quite know why I would want to an extent. Like, why I don't need to spend my money on that right now.
But then what else do you need to spend the nanites on? That's the question.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. I'm still, my biggest problem is still just core units. Like if I want to buy like newer frigates or or buy ships and I'm not stumbling upon ships I really want to do anything with, like through the distress beacons or anything like that. So
I mean, theoretically you should always just like get them to salvage them, but then that's like quite a lot of time, so it's not always worth it, I guess.
No, I mean it still works out for me because 500,000 in units is still a valuable amount of units for me. But
I mean, maybe you should look into doing some farming if you can unlock the farming things.
Yeah, I mean, but that's part of the problem. Like, I've never found enough resource to do the second step of farming. All I'm getting a minute is I've got a Fecium plant,
right,
and that's all I've got because I've never found enough frost crystals to do the second stage in that whole mini tutorial thing.
Just look for an ice planet.
Well, yeah, I've been there and I went there and I harvested it for friggin' ages, and apparently I still didn't get enough. And it's like, oh goddamn.
Were you just shooting regular plants though? Because that will give you apple. You actually need to find the frost crystal plants. Then you might not have the hazmat gauntlets. Wait,
I've got the hazmat gauntlets.
Oh yeah, because it gives you those in the farming missions, right?
No, I just made them at some point.
Or that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you can find where because every one of those,
I had those really early.
Yeah. Every one of those harvestable plants grows naturally on its appropriately themed planet. So you can just find a field of the frost crystal plants and then harvest those.
I guess I've just never seen it. I don't know. I've never seen like a frost crystal plant. I've seen like what do you call it? Like plants I can mine and they'll have a frost crystal in or something with like pansy amounts.
That's definitely not what you want. You should be able to see them through the scan visor in theory because they show up as like the green plant icon.
Green plant icon. Oh, right, that icon. Okay. Yeah, I've never seen one of those. I mean, I've seen that icon, but I've never seen one that's for frost crystals. In that way.
Oh yeah, because that probably also pops up for the food plants as well, I guess.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you've got some like the selenium and things.
Yeah,
like
that's the fire planet equivalent of the frost crystal plant.
Well, you've got fire berries as well.
That's a food one, I think.
That's a food, is it? Okay. Yeah,
you can usually tell because the food plants grow like individually, and like the resource plants grow in like a big patch.
Yes. Yeah. I managed to get a whole load of solarium or whatever at one point, and it's like, well, I've forgotten what I need this for, but I'm getting it all.
Yeah, you get.
I needed it for something.
You get those plants, and then because that's when because we did it once when we were playing. You go to those facilities that you have to break into, and then solve the stupid puzzle to shut them down, and then you get into that crafting tech tree where you can unlock the steps in the crafting.
Yeah.
That's what the resource plants are actually used for. Is like,
but I couldn't even really work out what even those were for, particularly. Like, there just seemed to be one for making more expensive minerals, and it's like, but they're not that expensive. I'm not going to make a huge amount of money out of those.
Well, I mean, those minerals are then like more steps in the same crafting tree because it's like you get it's this like two-pronged crafting tree where you have those minerals that you can also get by shooting the like planetary silos or whatever. And then those combine eventually with the things that the plants get turned into. So if you're unlocking stuff on that crafting tree, you want like the plant ones, and then you want to be able to grow the plants, because then essentially what you're doing on that side of the plant tree is that you're making the plants gradually more and more expensive, essentially.
Yeah.
The products you can make just combine together to gradually get more and more valuable.
I guess I haven't had the game really explain to me why I would want some of the materials I'm unlocking, like polyfiber and things like that. And it's just like, well, what do I need these for? Like, is there any kind of use to them? Or like, my scientist guy wants me to make a circuit board, but I don't think I have the means to get to a circuit board yet.
Yeah, because the circuit board is on that in the plant crafting tree, and like it's weird because there's a lot of stuff that sounds like it's important, but it actually like isn't. Like all of the stuff in the plant crafting tree seems like you should be able to do something with it, but you can't. And some of them are like the circuit board, sound like there's the micro circuits that you can make that are actually a crafting microprocessors that are actually used in like parts of your ship or whatever. But they're like completely separate from this other thing called circuit boards, which appear to be the same thing, except they're just like a trade product. There's nothing to do with them except for sell them. That's the problem with No Man's Sky's typical like multiple overlapping trees that like don't interact but seem like they should.
Yeah, so I think I'm at a weird point with it where I'm just not quite sure what to do with any of its quite many systems and like how they interlock and why I should be engaging with them. Because I just don't know.
Those occasional bits where it just doesn't tell you what to do, or like where to find the thing it's telling you to get.
Yeah, I wish there was an easier way of like when you're using a refiner, for instance, with 2 inputs. It's like I haven't really played with that at all because I don't know why I would. Like the formulae aren't obvious there.
No, and the game never tells you. Literally, you just look that up on the external website. Basically, there's some quite fancy, nice web pages.
Because I don't really like doing that on my smartphone though. Like, because if I'm sat in front of the TV, like I'll whip my phone out to do that, and it's like that's not very convenient. Like,
no. But I guess that is the other trick that makes lots of money is like the multi-input refinery recipes that you can basically make infinite resources. You can sell those for cash. But you wouldn't know that unless you either spent forever like randomly switching inputs to see what they make or just look it up.
I'll tell you what, actually, the most annoying thing about No Man's Sky, the repairing the frigates is still the most annoying thing. That kind of sucks. And I took to the internet after they came back damaged one time and was like, there must be a way of doing this better. There isn't. The most annoying thing at the moment is actually the graphical glitches on Series X can get quite bad. Like it likes to unload textures near you as opposed to the ones in the middle distance.
Weird.
So like you could be approaching an area that in detail and it will suddenly go flat as a pancake, and you're like, what? Why did you do that? Apparently, like from what I've read, there's a bit of a glitch. Like if you've been leaving the game running for a while, which, you know, on Series X is kind of all the time.
Yeah.
Because it quick resumes. So the game never closes. So I've tried shutting it down the last time I played it, and I haven't fired it up since to see if it fixes it. But it was getting pretty bad. Like everywhere I went, I'd have like flat textures and rather than detail. And it would be popping in and out quite a lot. And Gnome looked at it and was like, well, you get the gist of what's there. And it's like, that's not the point.
Especially not because this is meant to be the fancy looking version.
Exactly, yeah. So I've been doing a lot of that, if I'm taking over.
Yeah, it's your turn with the sky and the rest.
It's my turn with the sky.
I mean, it's No Man's Sky, so it's up for grabs.
I'm not allowed in it.
Women only.
Yeah, so I did a bit of that. I went back to on a similar note, so similar, in fact, Gnome couldn't tell I was playing a different game. I started playing I went back to Outer Wilds,
right?
Because it sort of been sat on my. I downloaded it for Series X, thinking it will probably be a little more performant here, than the slightly ropey performance I got on original Xbone. Mm-hmm. But they've decided to lock the frame rate in the 1X and Series X version, so it locks at 30 rather than being uncapped like it was on Xbone. Oh. It's V-synced. All they've really done is turn on V-sync at 30 FPS, where they left it off on the base Xbone version.
Right.
So you're not getting your 60 FPS, but you are getting a nice sharp 4K presentation. And I think I'll take the stability over what it was on Xbone. It's fine. But Outer Wilds is one of the, and it's taken me a couple of hours to realize why I bounced off it the first time, because it's like I really want to like that game. It's like it is clever. I love its like whole like little solar system on a time loop, and how the systems all work together, and the way that the mysteries unfold is smart. Like you go to a place and you learn a little bit more, and that means you now know how to get somewhere else, and then do the thing. But I fairly quickly got to a point where it's just like, okay, I figured out a little bit. Now what? And like the rumors I had, or the systems I had, didn't really tell me enough about what to do next. So I did the thing I don't normally do with games and turned to a guide.
All right.
And was like, okay, where do I go? And where do I do this? And then got pretty frustrated with it, because it's just like, I would never have figured out where to go or how to do that, because it requires pretty precise timing on where you are in the universe, in the solar system, because of the way things change over time in this 22-minute loop. So it's like, okay, when you spawn, you've got to go fly to this place, and it's going to take about 5 minutes. And then after 5 minutes, and while one of the planets, Ash Twin, has basically it's covered in sand, and over that time, that sand transfers across to its twin planet, Ember Twin. So the whole like terrain is slowly being revealed on that. And there's a section you can only get to by like you have to be in a certain place at a certain time while the sand is at a certain level, so you can actually walk on the sand to get around this particular area. But if it sinks too low, then it reveals the spiky cacti underneath, which puncture your suit, and then you can't breathe and you get hurt and stuff. So it's like I would never have figured out that I needed to be in this spot at this precise time.
Right.
There was no way I could have known that. Or I don't feel like there's any way I could have known that. I don't feel like I've missed much to get there. Yeah, there are definitely certain things where it's like, despite how long I've been playing that game, I've just never found the bit of text or never found the clue that I would have needed to do that little section, if there ever was one, and I'm supposed to just pass it out through curiosity and trial and error. But I've bounced off it again because there's just one bit that is just it's so tedious. It's like a stealth section, like space stealth, where I can't fire my engines too much, otherwise nearby anglerfish will come and eat me. And there's a section. The first time I ran through, you run through that section. Like there's an easier thing to find in this bit in Dark Bramble. There's an easy thing, and then there's a harder thing to find that I then I was like, all right, okay, I've got to go do this next because this is where the signal's leading me. And there's just a bit where it dumps you in, and there's like 3 of these sound sensitive anglerfish right in front of you, like right on top of you, and it requires. And it takes you quite a while to get there, of like trundling slowly through this foggy, viney area, trying not to attract attention. And then you're just like, there's 3 of them right next to you, and the slightest overthrust will have them all fixated on you, and you're dead, basically. And I cannot, like, I'm being super subtle with the controls, like crazy subtle with it. But maybe it's just because of the fidelity on a gamepad isn't quite where the game wants you to be or something like that, and so you spend ages getting to this point to be surrounded by things, and then I'm touching the controller, trying to make tiny things, and they're all just sitting there perfectly, and then I'll make one adjustment that for some reason sets them all off, and I'm like, and I'm boned. And I've tried to do this several times, and it takes ages to get to that point where, and there's no quick saving or anything on this. It's like if you die, you've got to go back to the start of the time loop, and I'm like, nah, I cannot. I absolutely have to do this, and I know I'm going to have to do it more than once, actually, probably. And I just cannot be asked. It's like it's really annoying.
Need some of those seismic charges.
Yeah, I just need to blast these damn English.
Yeah.
It's like I just can't be faffed to do that, and it's like it's really frustrating. In a game that's not really strikes me as something about being difficult, to suddenly throw that in, and it's just this. There's just elements of the design where it's just where the game's just it is just irritating because you can't speed up time in some places. So if you need to get to or you want to do something that's at the end of the time loop, you've got to find a way of faffing around for 15 minutes, or literally just walk away for the game for 15 minutes because you can't accelerate time, and it's. Yeah, I don't know. Its design gets in the way of what it does well. So I might be done with that thing for realsies this time.
It's a real shame if, small elements like that have such a big effect.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I think because I know from the guide it's an essential thing I'm going to have to do.
Right. And that removes any kind of doubt about that. Yeah.
Yeah. That I can't just enjoy myself and go and do other things. If I want to finish that game, I have to go through that section.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware, anyway. But
although it might have been possible that if you hadn't read the guide, you might have just assumed it was impossible to get through that section.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I might have just gone, I've screwed this up. I'm going to have to reverse out of here.
Or you just assume that was just like a dead end, where it's you come to these freeze fish and they're just going to kill you no matter what you do.
I probably would have come to that conclusion, yeah.
Or like a Metroid gate where you need some stealth thing to get through there.
Or there's some bit of knowledge I don't have yet, that there's something I need to do to, because you don't really upgrade yourself at all during this. You're not gaining abilities, you're gaining knowledge.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Like it's an interesting, cool. Like you're gaining, you're exploring more of the system through knowledge, not through anything else. Yeah. I'm done. Sorry, Outer Wilds. I'll never get to see your cool ending, which I sort of spoiled myself on anyway.
By looking at the guide.
Yeah, I read ahead because it was just like, how's this going to play out? Do I have to do this? Oh, I have to do this. Oh. Damn it. And I'm going to have to do it again later as well. It's the Polygon guide if you're interested. It's quite well done. They try not to tell you the spoilers of the story or what you're learning too much from there. They just say, go here, go here, go here.
Yeah, they're okay. Better than IGN, usually.
So what else did I play? I played some other stuff. I have been spending quite a lot of time with the 2016 reboot of Ratchet and Clank.
Oh.
On PlayStation 4. And it is a good time.
Oh.
I mean, I'm enjoying it, but precisely because it is a properly old school game.
Yeah.
Like there is, it's like it's level. There are small levels, smallish levels that you're going through, and it's basically just a shooter with some platforming, and some crazy ass weaponry, and it's pretty simple and quite a lot of fun. I mean, Ratchet and Clank has always shined on its arsenal, I guess, and this reboot doesn't really do anything to particularly change what's going on. It brings in I think it's like a greatest hits of weapons that have been in the series. I've never played the rest of the games, so this is the first Ratchet and Clank game I've properly sat down and played. I mean, Gnome tried to get through Age of Booty at one point, and I helped her out with some of the harder bits, but that's as far as it's been, as my Ratchet and Clank has gone. And it's it's good fun. Like you strafe around and you shoot stuff with grenades or a straight up gun or a gun that turns things into pixels, that acts like a shotgun. And then you end up with homing missile launchers at some point that are just massive, or a glove that sends minions in front of you, and the minions then seek down people to things, or Mr. Zircon, who's a constantly talking little robot buddy, who's just like, Mr. Zircon is here to kill, which is pretty great, and it's madness, but it's a fun kind of madness. It's a little overwhelming, and I don't think some of the area design is particularly great. But,
right.
And it's slightly messy combat. You know, it's not like up there with the shooter greats in terms of that, but it makes up for it with just
bravado,
the scale and madness and throwing disco balls out to make all the enemies dance instead of shoot you, so you can shoot them. You know, it is madness, and it's quite a juggling act because there are, as I said, there's 14 weapons by the end of the game that you have, and so switching between them is a bit of a hassle. You know, you have to do the weapon wheel thing really to effectively play this game. So which means it's a bit stop-start in nature like that. So you're having a bit of a fight, then you're holding triangle, then you need to select a weapon for your weapon wheel to then do that, get your Groovatron down to distract everyone. And it's like, right, now everyone's distracted. Now I'm going to switch to my proton drum and put that down on the ground as well. So that's beating out area of effect damage. And it's like, now, okay, these guys are doing that. While they're all doing that, I probably want to break out my flamethrower to deal with the guys that are charging me. So hey, let's do all of that. So you're switching weapons a lot, and so it results in this stop-start momentum, which I don't think is intended necessarily, and is a little bit of a shame given that everything's going on, and it's like, how badass would this sequence be if I wasn't having to swap weapons all the time? But swapping weapons all the time seems to be the most effective strategy. For dealing with these scenarios. It's like, okay, I need this for this, I need this for this. I'm not just going to load a gun and hold it the entire time. And to its credit, it does have a quick switch system you can put on the D-pad, so you can put 4 weapons there and assign them to what you want. But I found that changed every now and then of its own accord. So I'd try and switch to a weapon that I thought was on right D-pad. For instance, I normally put my flamethrower on right D-pad, and I'd press it, and it would switch to something else. And I'm like, what's happened there? Why has it changed my assignments? I'm not quite sure what triggered that, or what, but yeah, that definitely happened. Yeah, and I've played through that whole thing. just mainlined it pretty much. Did the whole main story, and I'm kind of doing it again because once you've done it once, it unlocks a challenge mode that is basically the game again. But as long as you're not getting hurt, you're getting a multiplier on how much money you're earning. And if you've got enough of the collectibles through the playthrough, you can unlock even more powerful versions of every single weapon. And as they upgrade, they get more and more mad. And when you hit certain level points, they can get extra. They can basically morph into different weapons and become something else.
It's a heavy emphasis on the weaponry. Then.
Oh yeah, the weaponry is the game,
right? Like Gungeon sort of style.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, you get the Sheepinator later on, which is just madness. It's an infinite ammo beam weapon that turns things into sheep. And
Sounds
then
like something from Worms, to be honest.
Yeah. You level it up to level 5, and then it becomes the Goatinator. And so you turn things into goats, and then those goats then attack enemies for you because they're angry goats.
Naturally.
As opposed to calm
docile sheep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
So it's madness, but it's great. Like, I think the gameplay is pretty. I have problems with the presentation, if I'm being honest. Like, it's this was released alongside Sony's attempt at making Ratchet and Clank into a film.
Right.
And I think here and there they're probably borrowing scenes from the film. I'm not too sure, but it's clearly cutting to video,
right?
To do stuff. There's a lot of in-engine stuff as well, but it's doing a fair chunk in video. And I think it has that old school feel as well of like where when it cuts to story and things like that it's not as seamless as you'd expect from a modern game. I mean, yeah, this is 2016, but 2016 is not that long ago.
No,
it's like a weird fade cut and sound cut to a video sequence from in the middle of doing something can be quite jarring these days. But it's and the story. I don't think the story particularly flows. It's kind of weird and random. It's just like now we're going here, and you've got a mission from a. You've received a little video message from a guy who just happens to be a pro hoverboarder, so you can get hoverboards and do hoverboard races for some reason, whilst something else really bad is happening over the other side of the galaxy. But it's like, no, I'm just going to go do this hoverboard race.
Naturally,
it's dumb. It's got a little bit of that. I equate some of its feel to how the original Beyond Good and Evil felt. If that makes any sense. There's that sort of vibe, I guess, more than anything else.
Vibe,
yeah.
Cool.
I mean, some of the writing's good, some of the jokes are good. It's pretty. Something. I mean, most of it's kind of like just hovering above acceptable in terms of like, like in terms of like the writing is serviceable. If you see what I mean, it's getting the job done in that classic family friendly way, rather than being particularly clever or outright funny.
It's not Gex. Enter the gecko.
I have no opinion on Gex. So.
It's only
I think the presentation's really nice as well. Like the visuals are pretty sweet.
Is it making you excited for PS5 Ratchet Clank?
I mean, it kind of is. Portals? Yeah, I think I'd the bulk of that demo I think is on a planet called Kerwan, which you spend some time on in this game,
right?
And it's like oh, okay, I can now. It looks pretty similar actually, like they do. It's weird in the sense that I haven't quite seen where the upgrade comes from visually in the PS5 version, because this version looks pretty great.
Right.
It's running at 4K or a decent representation of 4K on the PS4 Pro. There might be under-resing. I'm not sure how it works, but it does look very good. And it has got HDR, but I think this is where my one problem I think with the visual presentation comes. It's like I don't think their HDR implementation is very good. in the sense that it feels like when colors get to a certain point in brightness, they suddenly snap to being uber bright. So there's like a point up the brightness scale where they just go, sod it, it's really bright. And it like solarizes or whatever you call it, just bands into max brightness. Creating this harsh
fact, right?
Yeah,
edge.
effectively just an edge to things.
This is the torch is on in this bit of the screen.
Yeah, and weirdly, you could like it's like they try and apply that to videos as well, which you can see on the title screen of the game, actually, in the way things have calibrated on my system. Like there's a sort of sun flare in the background, and it crunches because that background is video. And you can see it macro blocking like that, or banding out the HDR, I guess, in those macro blocks. It's like it's just this little bit of the image, but it just looks weird. And it's like, why have you done that? And it's not really noticeable in some of the cutscenes as well, where you just see bits of this banding occurring. Except for when the video decides to fade out, and then it's like a light switch. It's like when the video's fading out from being done, it's like the HDR turns off. So there'll be sections that look crunchy until it starts to fade out, and then it looks fine. And you're like, this is clearly a weird HDR implementation going on. It's definitely not a true HDR or where they got with. But 2016, it's early. HDR was pretty new to consoles then. So I guess this is Insomniac's weird way of doing it that they then managed to get right for Spider-Man.
Right, I see. Yeah.
Still. I think it's a pretty. It's a throwback, but I've had quite a bit of fun with it.
Yeah, fun is all you can ask, isn't it?
Yeah,
sweet,
definitely. Ratchet and Clank 2016, good stuff.
Check it out.
And what else I've been doing? Right, I went off. I have been playing Pacer some more. Haven't really got anything more to say with that, other than I tried playing Pacer over Steam Link.
Right.
Because I was sort of thinking to myself, like if I end up moving to a new place and stuff like that, it might not be practical to run an HDMI cable from my PC to the TV anymore. Especially if the PC is no longer in the same room. So let's see where Steam Link is at these days. And honestly, it's pretty impressive. Yeah, I'm running it over a wired network, but the lag is pretty low. Like it told me that the network latency was about 6 milliseconds.
Right.
Like, which is really low.
That's really low. Yeah.
But I'm not getting perfect quality out of it. I'm getting, it's obvious. It's still obvious to me that it's video being streamed. It's a bit crunchy in places. On certain bits of graphics end up looking compressed. And
so what do you
there's
need
the
to
odd
the
stutter.
Link?
There's the tiny bit of stutter here and there, which is so for me. What I'm doing is you need Steam on your PC.
Yeah.
And you need a device the other end that is Steam Link happy. Conveniently, my TV has a Steam Link app.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
So I can just download that for Samsung. Apparently, Samsung TVs from 2017 can run this.
Nice.
So yeah, I just pulled the app down, put it on. It found my PC immediately, and I was good to go, pretty much. I can't seem to get it to. Apparently, it can do 4K, but I haven't been able to get anything more than 1080 out of it at the moment. But that's kind of okay because that's all I was really able to do over my HDMI cable anyway, because of it being a long ass HDMI cable and going through my amp and all that kind of stuff. So I couldn't really do 4K 60 that route anyway. But yeah, so it's video quality is a bit crunchy, tiny bit of lag. Audio seems fine, little bit of stutter here and there. But hey, I mean, if they can solve the compression or make the compression, if they can get the video where it needs to be, it's not a terrible option.
It's weird. I wonder when that actually when that changed, because I remember the first time when I was talking about it, how I was running from my PC down to the Mac downstairs. At that time, I thought it was good, but Rob had thought it was bad for ages. Before that, there must have been a very precise point where it suddenly got good that Rob just missed the first time he tried it or something.
Yeah, maybe. It seemed. I mean, it's not. It's given the choice, I wouldn't play this way. If I could wire in, I absolutely would. And I think because the thing I'm thinking about, like the thing I can live with playing most games on the PC, right? I'd like to play them on my TV and my sound setup and all that jazz, but it's like, yeah, fine. There's plenty of games where I'd be happy enough just sat at my PC playing. But that kind of goes away with like games where, like PC games that we play in multiplayer, which is quite a lot, really. Like under normal times, if you're here and my brother's here and Jammy's here and stuff like that, and we're getting controllers together and we're playing a game, you kind of want to do that in the living room, right?
Yeah.
And I want Steam to deliver that, and Steam Link may, for in fairness, for most of the stuff we play, Steam Link route might probably be fine.
I mean, the question then is sort of the controllers become the problem at that point, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, it depends on their range, but the Xbox 360 wireless range is pretty long.
I still don't trust that, though, because of how many times we have problems with your controllers.
Well, most of the time that's batteries or them going into the wrong... It's not really signal.
I don't... Yeah, there's definitely been times where like it seems like the control sees up or like it stops detecting for a second or two.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's impossible to know whether that is because of the wireless or because of some other thing. But I mean, that's why I always prefer to just use my actual wired controller when I fit at your house, because we can still do that in your current setup.
True, and I should probably try and repair my wired controller so I can do that too at some point. The sticks on my wired controller are messed up, but they're not. It wouldn't be impossible to repair. I just haven't tried. But yeah, theoretically, it should be fine. Theoretically.
Because that is the other thing with
the Series X controller and my Blue Xbone controller, we can Bluetooth those to my PC. So I don't even need a wireless dongle for that either. And in fairness, like the Steam Link app actually supports being able to plug stuff into the telly, apparently.
Well, I guess because probably I assume that TV has USB ports.
Yeah, I mean the breakout box for it does.
But then the trouble with that is that then that definitely that obviously does add latency because it's the same latency as the video link.
Because then you've got an input round trip. Yeah,
because that was what I was doing with the Mac, where I had the Xbox controller plugged into the Mac downstairs and using that to control the game that was running on my PC, obviously.
I don't think the input latency was any worse than the input latency I get just from using the Xbox on its own. Like, there's a noticeable delay between pressing the button and things happening through Series X. And it's the same on PS4 as well. It might just be a limitation of my TV handling 4K. I'm not sure. But...
Or, maybe it's also partially your amp and all the other setup stuff.
That's not. Shouldn't be in the setup I have through PS4 and Series X. Those are plugged straight into the telly. They're not going through the amp. You could see a tiny bit of because the way Steam Link was working is like my PC monitor was still running the game, and I think it's picking that up and using and encoding that and sending it across. Your PC monitor is still on playing the game; it's not hidden. So I can like just about position myself in this room and see both of them at the same time, and it's like you can see a tiny bit of lag between the two, but it really was quite small. So yeah, that's all right. I'll tell you what was hard to calibrate though to work properly in time. Feckin' Fuser, which is the final thing I wanted to talk about this time. I've started playing with Harmonix's follow-up to Drop Mix.
I mean, surely it has the standard set your delay interface.
It does, and it also has calibration tools, the sort of I'm going to play a sound. Press the button the moment you hear the sound, and I'll calibrate based on that. Or press a button when you see this thing on screen, and I'll calibrate your video to that. And I've tried that numerous times, and it seems wrong every time. Just straight up wrong. So I've tried to dial in the numbers. The best numbers I've found, actually, I have to set a negative number on my video. Make the video earlier, please. Rather than later.
Is it just at a certain point some weird, almost a UI problem of the game where it's your interpretation of when the beat is that the game is trying to tell you is not what the game is actually trying to tell you?
I have absolutely no idea. So I've had to set my numbers to something pretty weird to make it work well on my TV. which is where I want to play it because that's where my sound system is. It's a music game. I want to be able to hear it.
Like you can play it with headphones too. Music headphones is another way to get good sound in your ears.
True, but it's a party. So Fuser is Harmonix's attempt to make something else out of the technology that was in Dropmix, because Dropmix didn't blow up as big as they'd hoped, but the technology in it is really sweet. So it follows the same idea in that there's a whole load of tracks in the game, and you can drop stems from those tracks in, and the game will very cleverly keep them all in time and in key and all that stuff for you. So you can make really weird mashups of everything that's there, pretty much. And they already have a fairly big DLC library that's pretty expensive, let's be honest. But these DLCs for these games always are. So there's a huge amount of possibility there, and the tooling here is goes far beyond what you had in Dropmix, and so you can not only use dropping the up to you get 4 stems now rather than 5, but you can drop 4 stems into it to play at any time, but you get more controls. Like you can manually adjust crazy low pass filters or stutter effects and do all that stuff. You can fade out tracks and set their volumes on the fly. You can queue up a whole load of other stems to play, so at the press of a button they all swap in at once, and things like that. The game will give you cues on when it might make sense to swap stuff in, not just at the end of bars. Like it'll be like, this is a pickup point. If you drop it in there, it will sound nice and we'll give you points for a pickup instead of just a bar timing, which I wish they did on the effects as well, because there are definitely times where it sounds cool to do effect at a time that's not just on the 4x4 bar beat, and it's like, but the game doesn't recognize that, and you go like, yeah, that sounded cool, and the game goes, nah, you messed that up, and it's like, well, yeah, screw you then.
Yeah.
And this is where the problems begin. The tooling and the technology is great. The game kind of sucks.
Ah, god damn it!
They still haven't found a way of making this all kind of fit within a game structure. So the way the campaign works is it's one massive tutorial, effectively. Like every level is, we're introducing a new part of the tooling system to you. And the annoying part of that is if you go back and play older levels, it's like the newer systems are locked out, so you can't use them at all. So going back to play older levels with your newfound skills is kind of not a thing. So you have to go back and play those levels with your old skills and limited skills. And most annoyingly, with all the tutorial pop-ups still in place. There's no way of replaying levels, turning those off, it seems. So the way it scores you is there's a request. There's 2 different ways the games can request things of you. There's the fixed parameters of the level, which pop up in a little box on the right. So it will be like, okay, you need 2 tracks from the 90s playing right now, and you need to hold that for 4 bars or something like that. Or you need to during this segment, I want you to take a couple of drum tracks off, for instance, or maybe we're winding down, so leave only 1 disc playing right now, leave only 1 stem on the table. So you're and it gives you a limited period of time in which to fulfill those requests. You've got to manipulate the tools quickly enough to get what the event producer, I guess, wants, and get that playing, which is fine. It's a way of driving it. You've got to do all those actions in time. You've got to hit the beats. You get more points, I think, for doing more actions. So you can fulfill those, but you could also be muting tracks on the beat or swapping things out very frequently to gain more points, which I think kind of sucks, because it's like, if you find a combination you like, you kind of just want to let it sit for a while and enjoy it. Whereas the game is basically encouraging you to constantly do stuff, which messes with that.
Right.
Also, it's really not very clear how you like then take that to earn more points. It's like if I'm literally just doing stuff, it's like, okay, which one of these things that I'm doing is actually the way to score decent money? Like I don't
right.
I don't know. It doesn't tell me that. So when I come out of a stage having fulfilled every single one of the main requests and also crowd requests, which can come up randomly. Well, they're not super random. There are points where it's like they are going to happen, but what they might ask for can be random. And you get more points for fulfilling those requests quickly, and if there's multiple requests, you get a combo bonus if you manage to find one thing that fulfills all of those requests at once, which is clearly the trick.
Right, but it's not obvious.
It'll be like, hey, I really like some horns. Hey, I'd really like some rap. I know, I can play the bass line from 50 Cents in the Club because that's made of horns. So
I know this.
So, well, and I happen to have that in my crate right now. It will never pick a request that you don't have in your crate
available
at the time. Yeah. So it's like, right, great, I can fulfill that. If I drop that in, brilliant. But sometimes you could be faffing with other stuff and you kind of you end up with not enough time to fulfill the request quite right, things like that. So there's a little bit of a juggling act going on and there's a little bit of gaminess there. But that's kind of it. And it's not like a rhythm game where it's basically asking me to like hit things perfectly. It's like it's trying to be freestyle, but as a result loses some of the being technically good at it. I don't know. And it's what it calls technically good isn't necessarily agrees with what I think is good. So it's weird, and I don't think the game part really pulls that off. And my problem is like if I'm going to go through the campaign like and finish it all off, I then don't have then unless it unlocks and I can't see it right now. There's no real challenge mode to be like, okay, I want to be able to up the difficulty of every single track like you could in Rock Band or Guitar Hero or something like. Be like, okay, now I've got the skills. Let's go back and play Killer Queen on Expert and see how.
Yeah.
And I don't really think there's going to be any equivalent of that here. So it's a weird one. The tech is good as a toy. It's still good. It's probably and it's more flexible than Drop Mix in that respect. You can do quite a bit with it, and make some quite impressive stuff. They just haven't figured out how to put a game around it, and it's a bit of a shame.
Do you think? I don't know. Do you have any idea how they could do it, or?
I don't honestly. Yeah. It's hard. It's like I guess the closest they ever come was like a DJ Hero or something like that. But it's
all right.
But well, I would quite like it if they just brought back why didn't they just put Drop Mix in there? There's nothing stopping them from making the sort of card-like game, but just put it in there. Use the technology and just put it there. Like the Drop Mix card battle probably would have been a better game than what we've ended up with. What if they pulled in Drop Mix's puzzle mode, for instance, which is a slightly different take on the whole thing? They could have put that in there. Because then the puzzle mode in Drop Mix was great and even the card mode, because the music's just playing while you're thinking about how to do your turn. So you're enjoying something you created without the pressure of having to change it. If you know what I mean. So then playing your action would always be satisfying because it would not only do a thing to
advance you,
to advance the game, but it would change the audio landscape. And so I think that was more successful.
Oh, come on, Fuser.
It's still really great tech, though. If you just want to dick around with it. Oh, well, that's the other problem. You can't really just dick around with it because everything's locked behind leveling up your player character. So you have got to go through the campaign. You have got to play the levels. You've got to earn enough player level in order to get enough music and style tokens so you can unlock more songs, so you can unlock more crazy looks for it. So I'm forced into this loop. I can't just unlock everything off the bat and just have fun with the tools. I've got to go through the campaign. It's problematic.
Well,
and also anytime they try and do they try and do the cool producer kind of cutscene stuff as well, and they are awful.
Oh no.
And the faces look like bad.
You're Dr. Dre or something.
Well, like you walk up to a DJ set and you're supposed to be like coming up to someone who's like in the biz or whatever, and they're like, "Yo, how's it going? I'm gonna go get a taco. Do you want to come get me a taco with me?" This is so zen right now. I was like, "Whoa!" And I'm like, and my eyes are way too big for my face. Whoa! It's awful. It's awful. Never try and do that. No one does that well.
No, I mean it's bad enough in fucking FIFA
from Dirt 3
or Docker race car driver or whatever it was.
No, as Zach said, Dirt 3. It's like, hey, you should put that on YouTube.
Yeah. Hey, you got some crazy money. Are you ready?
That's acceptable.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. So that's my rant for the week. It's like good tech, no game.
One of these days, Harmonix, you're gonna hit something again.
I'll strike gold somehow. Yeah.
They've used all the easy ideas at this point, though. That's the trouble.
I wonder if they need to just drop the idea of making a music game, but use their music tech. If you see what I mean, make a normal ass game, but use their music tech to enhance it. Why don't you just make Res?
Everyone should just make Res. I mean, just give up on other kinds of games.
Have a go. I'd quite like to see a Harmonix take on Res.
Yeah.
With licensed tracks and crazy net stuff going on. How rad could that be?
Well, like a combination of that with the early games. Like, what am I thinking of?
Well, they did do that remake of Amplitude.
Yeah, Amplitude, yeah.
I did go back and play, actually, relatively recently, because it's all right. It's Amplitude.
What was it? Frequency and then Amplitude.
Yeah, Frequency was the first one, and then Amplitude was the second, and then they remade Amplitude for PS4, but with different music. Amplitude on PS4 had the problem where it was a Kickstarter project, so they didn't have enough funds to really license very much music, so it was all in-house stuff, and so it's not as good. No. The best stuff is the stuff you eventually unlock that are basically stolen from other games. Like playing the Crypt of the Necro Dancer music in Amplitude is pretty cool.
Cool.
So that's that. That will be me.
I think that's nearly a podcast, isn't it? We're actually on time.
Thanks to no news.
Thanks to no news. Heavens above. Amazing. What else have we got going on? There's some Deus Ex videos going up on YouTube.
There is.
So that's what played a bit of that for you guys.
Second part coming soon.
Yep. Part 3, I'll have to figure out how I can run that on this ridiculous monitor. It may cause problems, but I'll see what we can do. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with another Saladcast, where there will be more news. So have a good couple of weeks and catch you then. Bye.
I mean, we can't guarantee there'll be more news.
No, but
there might be one piece of different news, unless you're going to make the news. Are you going to make the news? Are you news?
You're talking to me or to the listeners? I'm sure they'll make some news for us, and then we can talk about it.
Bye.